Hello and welcome to SEB Equities. With us today in the studio, we have Jonas Ehinger, the CEO of Gapwaves, a leading provider of high-performance radar antennas. Welcome to SEB Equities, Jonas.
Thank you, Erik. Very nice to be here.
Great to have you here. So I wanted to start off with a question. So over the past few years, you've seen very strong growth in the automotive industry, strong traction with some of the leading tier one suppliers in the world globally. What do you think is driving this interest from these tier one suppliers, and how do you see the ramp up progressing sort of ahead?
Yeah, let's start with the last question first. So we think we're just in the beginning of that ramp up in the marketplace, transferring to our technology in automotive radar sensors. And the driving fundamentals of this market is both legal aspects and requirements on safety features or active safety features in cars, such as emergency braking and adaptive cruise control systems, etc. The other aspect are technical requirements and regulations, such as which frequency bands that are being utilized for automotive radars, which has shifted from lower frequencies to much higher frequencies. And that is really an enabler because those higher frequencies require a new antenna technology, like Gapwaves technology. And that's creating the fundamental market expansion and transition to our technology.
All right. And you recently launched a new pilot line production facility. Can you maybe talk a bit about how this is important to your customers and what it means sort of in your continued ramp up here ahead?
Yes, it's a very important step for us because it's a more or less, it's an absolute requirement if you want to be a supplier to automotive industry, because you need a certification called IATF, and to obtain that certification, which allows you to become a supplier to tier one companies or automotive industry in general, you need your own production and your own production facility. So essentially this certification is like a license to operate for a supplier in this industry. So this facility, the pilot line, enables that, and it also allows us to further develop technology and know-how and innovation around not only the basic antenna function and the basic antenna technology, but how it's being produced using efficient production methods for very high volume settings. So essentially, the pilot line is a template. So we develop everything there, and then we can replicate it in higher volume settings with contract manufacturers that we certify and qualify according to our production methods and our technology.
All right. Right. We touched upon automotive, an important driver for you, of course, but you're also active in other industries. Can you talk a bit about perhaps what you're seeing both in telecom and also the mobility industry, which seems to be sort of opening up for business once again?
Yes, you're absolutely right. In telecom, it's a bit of a we view telecom as a future strong opportunity for us with a big commercial potential. Now the trigger or pivot point will be once the telecom industry starts to utilize higher frequency bands. Those are in part already allocated, but they have not gotten into use yet. But as the telecom segment moves up into higher frequency, also they will need a new antenna technology. So it's a really important segment for us looking ahead into the future. In terms of mobility, yes, you're right. We see a lot more activity there in terms of automation of industry, vehicles, in trucks, mining, farming, etc. Also some pickup in the robot taxi segment. So we're very happy to see that it has kind of revitalized over the last year or so.
if you were to pick one of those, which you're most excited about, is it a robo-taxi opportunity, or is it sort of any of the others that stick out?
I think personally, I think robotaxis are interesting on a technology development forefront aspect. But in terms of, rollout and full automation implementation, I think we'll see that happening earlier in other segments like industry vehicles, in mines and in farming applications, or in airports, for instance, because it's easier to automate.
And I guess one way to address that industry is through your investment in Sensrad. You've acquired a 30% stake. Sensrad obviously manufactures a full radar sensor, which you provide the antenna to. But can you talk a bit about how this is strategically important to you and why this is key in driving growth in these industries?
Yes, it's strategically important because outside of the automotive segment, where we provide antennas, which is a component of a radar sensor, but outside the automotive segment, we see an opportunity to provide a very high-end, high-performing radar sensor off the shelf for those companies. The volumes are typically smaller, but performance requirements are very high for these fully automated vehicles of different kinds. So it's an interesting commercial opportunity, which we have strong belief in with Sensrad. And not only for moving things, there's also the ITS segment where you have smart city applications and surveillance, etc., and traffic flow regulation, etc. And Sensrad has made quite a bit of an inroad there with some recent contracts and collaborations.
Yeah, is that where they're seeing the most traction, would you say?
Not really, but in some parts of the world, look at very big, crowded cities. There is traction for traffic flow monitoring and regulation applications using radar sensor technology. In other parts, it's probably more on the industrial vehicle type of applications that are generating quite a bit of interest.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Jonas, for this brief introduction to Gapwaves. Seems like an interesting future ahead.
It truly is. Thank you so much, Erik.
Thank you.